Mr. Young, your response.
Again, I agree with Representative Adkins that the issue is funding, and the question is how to obtain that funding, and the answer is to tax the rich.
Mr. Atkins.
Well, I'm pro-life.
So the governor of Kentucky, Matt Bevin, is a homophobic bigot. He's a homophobic bigot, and he says he's for life, but he keeps throwing everybody off of health care. That's not pro-life. Matt Bevin is the psych governor. When it comes to all the promises, or any of the things that I had, sort of liked, Matt Bevin said he was going to take down the Jefferson Davis statue in the rotunda. Right now you have a shrine for the failed nation that wanted to preserve slavery, the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy has a statue in the middle of the capital of Kentucky. So Matt Bevin, after the shooting in Charleston, Dylan Roof, he killed, 9 black folks, peaceful black folks in a church. Wow, that's so fucking courageous there, isn't it? Wow, so courageous. They were just peacefully praying in a church. They had welcomed him into their congregation, and they liked him. They actually liked him. And then how did Dylan Roof repay their kindness? So Matt Bevin said he was going to take down the Confederate statue. Psych. He isn't going to do that. Tax returns are going to be released when he was elected. Oh, I'm not going to release my tax returns now. When I get elected, though, then I'll release them. Oh, I got power of the entire state now? Well, psych. I'm not going to give you my tax returns. I'm not going to take down that Confederate statue. He even talked sympathetic about marijuana use at a debate. He was at a college, and he said that, don't all of y'all smoke marijuana? I mean, God, y'all smoke marijuana, don't you? And so he was running to the left of Jack Conway. Jack Conway hated marijuana, loved the Bush tax cuts, loved the Patriot Act, loved the Iraq War, but he hated the idea of legalizing marijuana. I'm not for it. He said it fancy for him. I'm not for it, with a nice southern twang. So Matt Bevin talked sympathetic about marijuana use at a debate against Jack Conway, and Matt Bevin had said that, don't you all use marijuana? So that seemed like he was somewhat sympathetic, somewhat partial to it. Then later on as governor, he says, psych, psych. We will never legalize marijuana. So he went the complete opposite. He said that Kentucky will never legalize marijuana under Matt Bevin. So on the Confederate statue, on the tax returns, on marijuana use, psych, psych, psych. Jeff Young at the Kentucky debate, he brought up CARA. Who knows about CARA? CARA brought computers and technology into the school system. CARA made the Kentucky public education, the school system, to be more democratic. So it had site-based decision-making councils. So it was more democratic. It brought computers. CARA was when Kentucky did something incredible. How come Rocky Atkins doesn't brag about CARA? That's when they revolutionized the public education system in the 90s, and they got a lot of accolades across the board. Everybody said, look what Kentucky is actually doing when it comes to education.
Throughout Kentucky, and we've got to correct that. We've got to put more money in. There's no question about that. Performance-based funding is a terrible funding mechanism that I have fought tooth and toenail. I think it's wrong. I think it pits one university against the other, and we did it at a time when we reduced funding by 6.25%.
Now, Rocky Atkins is a homophobic bigot. He's the one that offered the amendment to discriminate against the gay folks. Hey, do you think gay marriage should be legal? Rocky Atkins asked Kentucky in 2004. Kentucky doesn't get any initiatives. They don't get, a dozen initiatives every year like here in Colorado. They get one initiative every decade. And the one initiative that Rocky Atkins put forth to Kentucky was, do you disapprove of gay marriage? Not only was it a homophobic bigot, homophobic bigoted bill, but it also helped get George W. Bush reelected. Karl Rove pushed these anti-gay amendments and initiatives all throughout the state, because when you get all the homophobic bigots to go out to go vote, oh yeah, damn them gays, then you can also get them to vote for the Republican president. So Rocky Atkins has been one of the reasons that the Democratic Party has gone to the right. Rocky Atkins is going to sit there and say that universities should not be tested on performance. Okay, well, tell that to the students of those universities. Hey, students of the universities, you're not going to be tested on your performance. It doesn't matter if you pass the test or if you do well in life, if you get a good job. You will, none of those things matter to the universities. Performance doesn't matter. That's so fucked up that these schools get pissed off when you test them, and yet they put tests out every week. So I think he said it was a moral imperative. It's just wrong. It's just wrong to test a university by their performance. If you look at UK, only 26% or less is graduating. So you go to UK, only 1 out of 4 of those freshmen will have graduated in 4 years. The good thing about Rocky Atkins is that he's talking about free college, free community college, and technical school.
I think my free community technical college proposal brings something to the table that would allow students to get a start with a certificate and an associate degree to be able to continue on to keep that student debt down for students. I think it's important that if we're going to build this strong economy that we're looking for to compete in this global economy, to create a 21st century economy with a 21st century workforce, more funding has to go into higher education, and I'm committed to do that as governor.
Thank you. So vocational school and community college to get an associate's degree, to get half of your education, so that saves you on the cost of getting the entire 4-year education at a university. This is a fantastic idea. This is an incredible idea. So even though Rocky Atkins is pro, he says life, he's opposed to abortion even at conception, so he's a strict. He says that he'll go along with the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court overturns it, then he's going to say, well, shit, sorry about your luck, right? So he is pro-life, he's a homophobic bigot, but he is in favor of free community and technical schools. Adam Edelin put a price tag on this of $300 million. $400 million is what Matt Bevin is spending on pension fund managers. $400 million. So you could just fire all the pension fund managers and then put that $400 million into Rocky Atkins' free community college and technical school plan, and it would work. And that $400 million remark, that $400 million stat comes from Robert Goforth.
But we need to do more than that for our families. We need automatic registration when you turn 18. We need our polls to be open longer. We've got so many Kentuckians working 2 jobs, and we close our polls at 6 o'clock. Tell that to a single mother that's trying to support her children. We need to make sure that you can vote early, and I support up to 30 days in advance, and you should be able to vote absentee without an excuse.
I'm talking a little bit about Adam Edelin. Adam Edelin looks really good. On the surface, I would vote for him, I thought, as the number 2 candidate. But I was able to talk to Andy Beshear's people, but Adam Edelin's people on Facebook. I don't know who's running Facebook, but it's not Adam Edelin. It's one of his surrogates, and I don't think they have any say-so whatsoever when it comes to Adam and his policies. So Adam Edelin never contacted me, okay? So he's out of touch. He's elitist. What? I'm not good enough to be talked to? So Adam Edelin, this has been his lifelong dream. He's going to say anything that he can to become governor. He's a Chamber of Commerce candidate, so he's in favor of big business. He's got $2.5 million being funneled into his coffers. Adam Edelin called Colin Kaepernick a horse's ass. Right, that's great motherfucking language there. What a great fucking role model for the goddamn kids. Jesus fucking Christ. So Adam Edelin called Colin Kaepernick a horse's ass. Oh, that Colin Kaepernick, he hates police brutality. Oh, what a horse's ass. That Colin Kaepernick, he wants to use his privilege to put attention on an issue that's been ignored. What a horse's ass. That Colin Kaepernick is for free speech. He's for protest. He didn't have to do it. It'd been better in the long run probably if he didn't do it. Right? He would have got, signed and still been playing football. But he won that lawsuit. So there was a conspiracy to discriminate against Colin Kaepernick to make sure he wasn't hired. So Colin Kaepernick has already redeemed himself. Adam Edelin hasn't said anything about, supporting protest, supporting free speech, being opposed to police brutality. These are issues that aren't even mentioned. Police brutality? What, we're going to actually look at the police and then police them? No, no, no. It's kind of like the universities. They don't need to be policed either. Let them have, shitty performance, and let's just keep on giving them a bunch of money while jacking tuition up 6% every year. The biggest disqualifier for Adam Edelin is, there's two actually, the way that he treated Jeff Young during the election. So he's not for public financed elections, instant runoff voting, referendum recall. He's not going to get any of these democratic tools that Kentucky desperately needs into the electoral system. Joe Biden. So Adam Edelin says that Joe Biden and Inslee, they ask him, who did you vote for in 2016 and who are you going to vote for out of the Democratic candidates currently? So he said he voted for Hillary Clinton. He didn't hold his nose when he did it. They were awful candidates. But he voted for Hillary, and then he said he liked Inslee and Joe Biden. Old Grandpa grew up in Sniff, right? Old Grandpa grew up in Sniff. Mr. Privatized prisons. Mr. Anti-integration, loves, segregation. Mr. Crash the economy by getting rid of Glass-Steagall. Mr. Iraq and Afghanistan war, let's do those wars forever. Let's do the Patriot Act. Let's do the bankruptcy bill. Fuck the college students. Okay, that's who Adam Edelin likes. Joe fucking Biden. Joe Biden. So anybody but Bernie, right, Adam Edelin? Anybody but Bernie.
And folks, I'm the only candidate in this race that will actually give you specifics. I'm going to give you 4 steps that we're going to take to create new revenue that we're going to direct solely to the pension system. First, we are going to pass expanded gaming. It is beyond time. It would bring in $550 million a year, and what we're going to do differently is direct 100% of it to the pension system. Second, medicinal marijuana. I came into this issue because of opioids.
There's a couple good things about Andy Beshear. He wants to raise money from casinos. I believe in legalized casinos, but I don't think it's going to. He says $550 million. So he can take that casino money and put it to the community college. This is supposed to go to the pensions. So everybody that's on the dole that works for the state of Kentucky, that's in the bureaucracy, they're all complaining that they're not going to get these big fat pensions. The judges get their big fat pensions, but $1 million pensions, millions and millions of dollars wasted for the pensions of judges who don't even judge right.
Co-defendant and co-conspirator of Allison Crimes Grimes. I met with Mr. Adams because I wanted to let him know that I was strongly considering running for Secretary of State, and I knew he was someone with the same ambition. So upon hearing that I was a potential rival, Mr. Adams panicked. He began by offering me a 6-figure bribe to not run against him.
Shannon Cogan with Wave 3 News in Louisville.
And I'm Bill Bryant from WKYT in Lexington.
Mr. Beshear.
A pension is a promise, and I was raised that when you make a promise, you keep that promise.
So Andy Beshear, baby Beshear, Andrew Graham Beshear, he says that they're going to get $50 million for medical marijuana, so that's probably going to get taxed, right? No tax breaks for corporation who doesn't provide a living wage, and then no tax breaks for private jets and luxury houseboats. He said that you can buy a corporate jet and you pay 0 sales tax on that. 0 sales tax on a corporate jet. Meanwhile, if you buy a fucking ho-ho, they're going to hit you with sales tax on that. So they're going to tax under the Andy Beshear administration, private jets, luxury houseboats. They're not going to give any tax breaks for corporations who do not provide a living wage. He's going to get $50 million from medical marijuana and $550 million from casinos.
Something I have to deal with every day. They're addictive, and they do not help with long-term pain. Medicinal marijuana will help our people, but it'll also bring in another $50 million a year. Number 3, we've got to close some unfair corporate tax loopholes. Do y'all know that if you buy a corporate jet in Kentucky, you don't have to pay sales tax on it? If you can afford a corporate jet, you can afford to pay sales tax. And number 4, in my administration, we're going to stop giving corporate tax incentives to companies that don't pay a living wage. 4 steps that get us back on the road to solvency.
Andy Beshear is also in favor of term limits for all Kentucky officials. I think 2 terms. Only 2 terms for all Kentucky officials. It's good enough for George Washington, so why should more folks stay longer than how long George Washington stayed for? You need new blood, new ideas. Term limits is a great idea. Term limits, right? We're going to force these politicians to get the fuck out. Now, Andy Beshear has been a major check on Matt Bevin, suing him for this and that and everything else. He has saved a lot of the cuts and a lot of the budget, the money that Matt Bevin was trying to save, and he was trying to throw people off of health care. So he's been a check, okay? So I like that idea of having a Republican governor and a Democrat attorney general, because he will check them, make sure they don't do too much damage. And go, vice versa. If you have a Democrat governor, I would want a Republican or an independent. I would rather have libertarians and greens in all these positions. But if I had to, pick, by having somebody of a different political party, then there's less chances of corruption. So you would want a Republican governor or a Republican governor and a Democrat attorney general, or a Republican attorney general and a Democrat governor.
And also I support the expansion of industrial hemp production in Kentucky. So I'm going to take this opportunity to ask Adam Edlin and Andy Beshear to drop out of this race, because a crook has no chance against Matt Bevin in November.
Okay, let me give just a quick response, if you want, to that quickly.
Bless his heart. I've beaten Matt Bevin time and time again, and I'll do it in November.
Andy Beshear is pro-choice, pro-Roe v. Wade in Kentucky, so he's not pro-life, as they like to say. So he's pro-choice, pro-Roe v. Wade. He has released his tax returns, so that's better than Matt Bevin. He's better than Bevin on gay folks, better than Bevin on abortion. When it comes to casinos, he's better than Bevin on casinos. He's better than Bevin on climate change. And he ran as Attorney General being opposed to child abuse. I like to think that he's opposed to corporal punishment, but I need to know that distinction from Andy Beshear. When you say child abuse, do you mean assault? Because if you spank a kid, that's assault. And there's a lot of laws out there. That's a mitigating, aggravating charge. So if you use violence on top of other crimes that you have committed, then you get an extended mandatory violent crime sentence to 6 months in jail. So is he opposed to corporal punishment, especially in the schools? Is he opposed to corporal punishment in the schools? Andy Beshear has several unions supporting him. He is opposed to Matt Bevin's war on women and war. He wants a war on the poor, but he doesn't say that. So I don't know why they run away from that term, war on poverty. Andy Beshear, why he has a lot of things going for him, I don't think he supports Rocky Atkins free community colleges. He doesn't support universal health care. He doesn't support free college. He opposes recreational marijuana. He's for medical marijuana, but for anxiety, for insomnia, for anorexics. So he's not talking about a war on poverty. He's not talking about universal health care. He's not talking about legalizing recreational marijuana. He's not for school choice. So he's for totalitarian schools. He's for the war on drugs. So he's going to stop all the opioids. Then he's not for universal health care. He's for government pensions for millionaire judges. He opposes free college and free community college and technical school. So Andy Beshear is not very progressive, but neither is Adam Edlin. So they are progressive on some issues when it comes to abortion. That's a direct contrast to the governor when it comes to gay rights and not discriminating against gay folks. That's also way better than Matt Bevin. And also for casinos and marijuana. In that choice, in that freedom, Matt Bevin likes to talk about, school choice and religious freedom. But what about actually freedom? What about freedom to do what I want to my own body? Do we get that freedom in America? And what about the freedom to not die from the lack of health care? Do we get that freedom in America? So when it comes to Matt Bevin, both Edlin and Beshear are way better than Matt Bevin, but Jeff Young just destroys them all. He is so much more progressive with just his 11-point plan. He's so much more progressive with just 11 points. Come on, Kentucky.
Kentucky only has one remaining freestanding abortion clinic. Is it the state's role to ensure women's access to abortion? And if so, how would you do that? Mr. Young, we'll begin with you.
It is definitely the state's role to ensure access to safe abortions, especially during the first trimester. I'm a strong supporter of the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision of 1973.